Hello, my name is Santiago Pardo Rodriguez, and I am a Colombian lawyer who, as Gregor Samsa in Kafka's Metamorphosis, woke one morning from an uneasy dream and found myself transforming my bed into a gigantic insect. But what type of insect? Well, let me start by answering this with a powerful thought from Rebecca Sandford, a professor at Arizona State University. In 2009, the political journal Politico conveyed experts from around the world to answer a simple yet mind numbing question: how to fix the law. Let me read a quote from Professor Sandford answer, a mind blowing answer. One of the great paradoxes of democracy is that ordinary people elect representatives to write laws that ordinary people often cannot use. These laws are meant to order the most basic facts of our lives: making a living, having shelter, getting healthcare, taking care of dependents. But often people are unable to use these laws because courts and legal processes are needlessly complex, designed for and by lawyers. Many people who are not lawyers could be providing valuable help, but cannot because of lawyers' monopoly on the law. End quote. So, well, paraphrasing Professor Sandford, I am an insect. I am a creature of the Colombian legal system that is trying to upset lawyers' monopoly over the law. And how am I doing it? Well, let me break my answer into three parts. First, going rogue, but not alone. In 2018, I co-founded with a designer and an engineer the Access to Justice Design Lab of the Universidad de los Andes in Bogotá, Colombia. The lab is a joint venture between the School of Law and the School of Engineering and the School of Design, inspired and supported by Professors Margaret Hagan, Stanford Legal Design Lab. Our methodology is based on four core elements. Real problem approach. We addressed real and concrete issues regarding access to justice. We work directly with institutions and stakeholders to identify a real problem and a real need. Human-centered design approach. We seek to implement a solution based on a design thinking methodology that puts people experiences in the center, citizens in the center. By doing so, we look for bottom-up solutions that could be easily replicated as we consider the cultural and economical restrictions of our interventions. A metric evaluation approach. Data is the king. Data is a key component for us. We dedicate a lot of time ideating, experimenting, validating, and iterating, so for us, metrics are a key element of our work. We want to show real-world impact by evaluating the success or not of our interventions. We learn through failure, and metrics are pivotal to fine-tune our improvements. Last, interdisciplinary approach. We promote a real conversation between lawyers, engineers, designers, and many other disciplines to understand access to justice. The second part of my answer, we laser focused on changing the meaning and scope of one of the most important human rights, the right to access to justice. For this, let me tell you a short story about constitutional history. I promise you are not going to fall asleep. In 1991, a new political constitution was enacted in Colombia, a true democratic revolution in our country. The new constitution provided for the creation of the tutela, as a mechanism to protect the fundamental rights of ordinary citizens. Everyone in my country has a constitutional right to file a tutela before any court in the country if they feel their fundamental rights are violated or at risk of being harmed. For instance, a tutela may be submitted if somebody is not getting adequate medical care, his children or her children are not going to school, or other of any of the social, economic, political rights guaranteed and enacted in our Constitution. Most importantly, there are no formalities required for the submission of the tutela. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need any legal background. You can file it written or orally. The tutela by excellence is informal. However, although it is stated clearly in the Constitution that the tutela can be submitted to any judge orally, it is very difficult to do that in the reality. Because, well, basically, judges, as all the lawyers in my country, are used to paper. In a world where law is a monopoly of lawyers, paper is the king, and what is not put in pen and paper does not exist. So, lawyers alone cannot think of new ways to promote the use of oral tutelas in Colombia, right? We are creatures of habit, and we don't understand that although tutelas can be placed or filed in an oral way, it is impossible for us to think in how to transform that into reality. And here comes the third part of my answer. We reimagine legal tools. With a mind-blowing group of students coming from engineer, design, law backgrounds, our work is based on a very simple premise. Law is a social artifact and we must renovate it. And how we do that? Well, through ideation, validation, prototyping, and iteration. For example, how about if we create a tool where any person can narrate its tutela and the system transcribes everything into an easy-to-read format? How about if all judges have this tool in their chambers? How about if we introduce a mandatory design service class for all the judges and judicial servants of the country, public servants of the country? These are plausible answers, real answers that are within our reach, and that in my opinion would dramatically transform the way we understand access to justice. Finally, what does my experience say about barristers in Colombia? Well, that we are paradoxical. We are creatures of habits and there is a strong cultural resistance to change. But also, I am convinced that many of us are eager to find new ways of understanding the law, and I believe we have a sincere desire to expand, promote, and consolidate the rule of law in our country with a human-centered design approach to access to justice. Justice in the end are not the codes, are not the constitutions, are not the decisions, are not the judges or the barristers. No, justice in the end is a human need for peace. That is our goal, and that is where the future of law lays ahead. Thank you very much.